Okay, everybody, looking forward to our time together tomorrow morning. Sunday, we're going to be here for worship. And so, hey, be reading ahead. We have come to a really cool chapter in the story of 2 Samuel and David and the history of God's people. 2 Samuel chapter 6. And so what we've seen is that David has established Jerusalem as the new capital of the nation. And now he wants to make space for the Lord and to bring the Ark of the Covenant finally to the city of Jerusalem. And so go ahead, read it, check it out for yourselves. There's lots of great pictures and applications and neat stories in there. It's amazing that really we haven't seen the Ark of the Covenant since 1 Samuel chapter 6 and 7. Can you imagine? It's essentially like for 20 years, the people of God have ignored his presence, ignored the Ark of his covenant, and they've lamented after the Lord. And now David makes the decision to build a place for the Lord, to pitch a tent for his presence, and to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. And there's lots of contrast in this chapter. It's like we see blessing on the house of Obed-Edom, who houses the Ark of the Covenant. We see judgment of God against Uzzah for reaching out and trying to secure the ark as the oxen stumble as they pull it on a cart. We see the blessing of David as he's worshiping the Lord in triumph as the Ark of the Covenant comes into the city of Jerusalem, and he's dancing before the Lord and, just rejoicing in God. And we also see the judgment against his wife Michal for her heart to despise her husband in his worship of the Lord. And what I was thinking about as I was just kind of reading over this a bit today and studying it and getting into it is interesting that as David was blessed, Michal, his wife, is described in a number of different ways. In fact, one of the ways the scripture describes her in this text is not as the wife of David, but as the daughter of Saul. And that really is not a good thing that she's described as the daughter of Saul. He is the king of the flesh, the man of the flesh, and here her husband, David, is God's anointed, God's chosen. And so one of the things I just observe about Michal was her attitude towards worship, her attitude towards the Lord's anointed, her attitude towards the presence of God, and she is related to her father, the man of the flesh. And she has a fruitless life. That's what we read about her. She's unable to bear children. And so, as we think about this text, here's one of the things I would just be encouraging you to consider. What is your attitude towards the presence of God? What is your attitude as you gather with us and prepare for worship tomorrow? What is the attitude of your heart towards the Lord's anointed, King Jesus? Now, the flesh is going to resist and often hate those things, but we want to cultivate an attitude that loves King Jesus, that loves to worship with God's people, an attitude and heart that loves the presence of God. So, hey, looking forward to our time together tomorrow. It's going to be great. Martin's going to be leading us in worship. We're going to dive into 2 Samuel chapter 6. We're going to have a lot of fun fellowshipping and worshiping together. We'll see you tomorrow, 9:30 a.m.